everyone. Welcome to the Seasiders podcast. We're here to preview the mighty Seasiders trip to Sheffield United on Saturday. We're excited to be joined by Johnny from the Shoreham View, the Sheffield United fan channel. And as well as our illustrious guest, Johnny, we're joined by accredited journalist Sean McGinley. Hello, Sean.
Hello, Connor. Nice to be here.
And the illustrious Tom Main.
Not accredited, but good evening.
Of the third tier fame, I should say. And welcome, Johnny.
Thanks for having me on. Excited to be chatting footy.
Excellent. So, just to kick things off, Johnny, tell us a little bit more about how you became a Sheffield United fan and how you got involved with the Shoreham View.
So, I was luckily to be born in Sheffield, not South Barnsley, so I became a Blade, obviously. Come from a mixed marriage. My dad's a Blade, my mum's wrong. So I obviously went down the correct path, the correct religion, so to speak. And after many years bumming around home and away, watching the Blades to, I can't even say moderate success, just watching the Blades, I decided that we didn't really have any good content out there. The official channels brought out a photo every now and again, so what I decided to do was just put some music videos out, which then developed into a vlog, which then developed into getting drunk on vlogs, which then developed into other stuff.
Well, here at the Seasiders podcast, we know all about getting drunk on vlogs. So you're in good company. One bit of backstory I need to share with you is how I publicly mocked Sean for daring to predict Sheffield United was slumped to a 12th place finish. So at the moment, Sean is feeling pretty smug, while I look like a bit of a tit. But what did you expect from Sheffield United coming into the season, and how do you feel about it so far?
I made the bold prediction that we'd lose in playoff finals for Blackburn. Unfortunately, I don't see that happening because we're not going to get in playoffs. And if you offer me 12 now, I'll probably snap your hand off with where we're playing, to be honest. I don't know. A lot of people keep saying we're in transition. I think that's the biggest load of bollocks I've ever heard in my life. Look at West Brom. Look at Bournemouth. Look at all these other clubs. Forest flying up league now. Now they've got a new manager. I know it's only a few wins, but look how quick it turns. Transition's a lazy excuse. And I would maybe guilty of thinking, right manager, right time, new ideas. It's the same old cack. Until you change, you guys will know more than anybody. Until you change things at a board level, things tend to stay the same.
Yeah, you mentioned in there, obviously, you said you didn't think you'd had the best start to the season. The underlying stats kind of say that you are creating quite a lot of chances. In fact, you're fourth in the expected goals table. So in terms of the quality of chances you're creating quite a lot. So would you say it's particularly down to a lack of quality up top, or is it just simply a bit of lack of luck? The way you're speaking there, I presume it's probably the former rather than the latter.
I don't know. If you have 80% of the possession in your own box, it doesn't really help. We are creating chances, but when you actually look deep at the chances, I know XG stats of what put into the box, etc., all great to look at from an outsider's point of view. But when you're actually at the games watching, when you take 18 passes on the edge of a box before you cross it in, there's only going to be one outcome. They're going to get defenders back. They're going to block a ball from going to the back of the net. We scored 2 goals against Barnsley the other day that were direct results of us playing a first-time cross. We get on the edge of the area and we'd make 6 passes instead of shooting and trying to walk it in half the time. So we are creating chances, but our strikers that have done us good in the past, maybe not so much in the Premiership, they've just gone by, but this year expecting to be back to the best, they're getting opportunities, but they're not opportunities you want them to have. They're like second half chances, apart from McGoldrick putting it over the bar from under the bar, but we're not going to talk about that. We're going to look at the fact that we've got strikers like Billy Sharp who've proven season in, season out, whether he's 28 or 58, he knows where the back of the net is. But when you're asking him to lead the line as a solo striker and do everything, what do you want to happen? Do you want him to start skinning players and turn into a new player at his age? No. So I think it can be deceptive. On paper, we should be doing a lot better. In reality, I think this is about right.
And why do you think you're kind of maybe struggling to make the most of those chances, or kind of find that cutting edge? Do you think anything it has to do with the relegation from last season, potential hangover from that poor form?
Very possibly. Could be a confidence issue for a lot of players. We've seen a lot of players that have been brilliant, and I mean outstanding. Your Ollie Norwoods, your John Flex, haven't pulled up trees since after lockdown, even in his first season back in the Premier League. People seem to forget, as high as we finished, the hangover started at that Villa game for the Hawkeye incident nonsense. We went drastically downhill from there. I do think that the hangover from the Premier League hasn't helped, but I also think that we had a very specialised system with highly specialised players, and we removed a piece of that jigsaw, and the downfall started from then. We don't have the right replacements, the right players to fit into that. And then when you get a new guy come in, and even though on paper these players are amazing, had the heights of the Premier League, Slav came out, so it's the best squad he's ever worked with. A lot of them are aging. A lot of them don't fit the way he wants to play football, and we're not making any investments to improve that. So we're trying to, instead of adapting to the players we've got and maybe finding a medium halfway to do us over, we're trying to force square pegs in round holes. And that's the results of that are obvious for everybody to see. I sound very doom and gloom. There are instances where we look phenomenal. There are instances where we think, if we can do this for 90 minutes, the sky's the limit. But we're not doing it for 90 minutes. We're getting 20 minutes a game most, really.
Yeah, it segues nicely into the new man. Bogdanovich is obviously at the helm, taking over from Chris Wilder. What would you say the changes he's made in the difference between him and Wilder? What has he brought to the club? And what was your first impressions on him in terms of the football you play?
Okay, so if we're comparing him to Chris Wilder, the first impression I noticed was how boring he is compared to Chris Wilder. But if you're looking at a football side, very, very different ideas on how to play football. Chris Wilder's a lot of blood and guts, playing out with your overlapping centre halves that loves to get buzzed around. What Chris Wilder also liked to do was try and put some fight in the game, whereas Bogdanovich likes to play more of a passing style. He likes to press. The players aren't really showing that, but you can tell he does. I'm not overly impressed with Bogdanovich so far, but that may be tainted by the players he's got available. If he can make the signings he wants, and suddenly there's a massive improvement, then like every other fickle football fan out there, which we are all guilty of being, I'll jump on the Slav bandwagon. But so far, I'm not impressed. And the main reason for that is he can't adjust the squad he's got at his disposal into any kind of system other than the rigid way he wants to play. And I know that sounds like a lot of buzzwords being bounded around, but if you've got Ronaldo, do you play him in defence? I know that's a bit of an extreme, but you've got players in there that play in certain positions and he's wanting them to do things they can't do. And I think that's maybe where he's losing me a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you think with that... Sorry, go on. I was just going to say with sorry, I'll go. I was just going to say with that, because do you think because of how specific Wilder was with the specific roles that he had in the system and he recruited players to do those really specific purposes. I keep saying specific because that's what it was. It was so specific to the way they played that when you've got someone who comes in with that sort of passive general style, you need to almost wipe out that squad. That's why I had you so low down in my prediction, because I think people underestimate that when you're going down to the Championship after such a bad run of form, having had so much success playing a specific way of football, to then completely revamp that in one season, it just doesn't work. So do you think perhaps if you did give Bogdanovich like the season, and do you think you can see signs of improvement that it'll come good in the end, or are you quite sort of expecting sort of the same 6 out of 10?
It's an hard one to judge. We've tried to play psychic as Sheffield United fans before, and it never turns out well. So, I mean, if like you said, it is specific. We had Jack O'Connell playing a certain way for 3 seasons. We lost him in the Premier League. He was integral to the way we played football because he didn't just affect defence, he affected attack, he affected the way Ollie Norwood played football because he could play it left or right first time. He could only play it one way this time, but he played in that system for 3 years. Now in the Premier League, if you want to bring in a replacement for that kind of specialised player, you've got to spend 50 million on a centre half. And we're Sheffield United, not Man U. We're not going to spend that kind of money. So we had to make do on the cheap. And people slate Wilder's signings. What do you expect him to do? We're Sheffield United. We're not Man City. We're not one of these high-spending clubs. We spent what we had available on players that would come for that money. Because it's not just a transfer fee, it's wages. And then when you come down, and like you said, you've got players that are used to playing that way, it is a big overall job. on paper, you've got players that should be able to do whatever they're asked, but I don't think that is the case. There are players in there that I love to pieces, and I've said this on my own show, there's players there that I love to pieces that need limited football time at the moment, because we need to find a way of making this team work, and sticking with the fan favourites maybe isn't the way to go forward. There's players that I'm not particularly keen on that maybe would fit in more. And as much as I hate seeing them on the team sheet, if they work, they work. 3 points is more important than what I think.
So maybe diving into specific players now. I know somebody in the comments, a wonderful Avers, has said he's predicting basically Billy Sharp is going to get his goal this Saturday. And I know Sean had some excellent stats and questions around Billy Sharp coming into this.
I was going to say, he's obviously, we kind of know Billy Sharp as a goal scorer generally throughout the divisions. He's got 4 goals, obviously, this season, but he's got 4 assists as well, and he seems to be quite a creative output this season compared to what perhaps we're used to from him. So how much emphasis do you put on him being the creative spark as well as the goal scorer tomorrow? Do you think that him being able to link up play is quite important at the moment?
It all depends who plays with him. If you've got David McGoldrick there with him, it kind of, I don't want to say stops that entirely, but it can halt it, because David McGoldrick plays that same kind of role. So having 2 players doing that's a bit of a waste. If Sharp is up there on his own and he's got a Gibbs White or an Ndiaye behind him, it is good, because you've got that pace and that hold-up play next to each other. And relying on Sharp to kind of lead the younger guys is important, but also just look how long he's played football. Look how many goals he's scored. He knows what to do on that pitch. And I think any time he's playing, we do look a better team, depending who we play around him. You can't expect one man to save the team.
You mentioned Morgan Gibbs-White there. My understanding is that I think this will be the final game where he has to serve his suspension for a red card.
Yeah.
How badly do you think, that his suspension is going to hurt you going into this?
I thought he was back for this game, but I could be wrong. Obviously, against Barnsley, it wasn't that much of a miss. No disrespect to Barnsley. They stuck 2 past us. Not difficult at the minute, but they still did it. That was a game we'd want him to miss. You guys started really doing that low down the league. You've really improved. You're in some decent form. We don't want good players missing at the moment. So if he is missing, I could have swore he was back. But if he is missing, it is a blow, because I think he makes us tick in a lot of ways, and it's going to break my heart when he inevitably goes back in January.
What's your impressions been on Blackpool so far this season? Have you sort of done a little research into what we've been like, or have you just sort of outside looking in and just sort of hazarded a guess?
No, I mean, obviously, it's as I said, you started down near the bottom. I've seen that you started flying up. I'm looking off screen now because I've been taking photos of stats, you see. Obviously, Preston, Reading, good wins. Blackburn, good win. That loss against Forest, but they're climbing, and the draw with Hull. So that's your last 5. That's a team on the up. Look how you came up last year as well. Momentum's carrying high. We know all about that. You don't have to start well in this division to finish well. We're a prime example of that. Look at when we went up. You'll be riding a wave now where you need to keep it going. And on paper, playing against a team like us is not what you want when you're trying to keep any kind of momentum going. In reality, with the way that you're playing, I know, is Lavery back for you yet?
Unfortunately not.
That's good for us. But anyway, with him missing, you've maybe got to rely on other players. Gary Madine's due to bag one. He used to play for us and he used to play for them. So he's definitely going to score. So you've got the tools there to keep the momentum going. And I don't mean this in a disrespectful way. On paper, we should have more. But I just don't see it at the minute, because football doesn't care about what's on paper, does it?
No.
Football does not care about paper. That's the new slogan for the Premier League or the European Super League right there. So even though football doesn't care about paper, we're still going to try and put some numbers to paper now in a time-honoured fashion. Johnny, give us your score and your match prediction.
See, I always predict a loss, because then if we win, it's a bonus. But I can see 0-0 for this one, I can see it being one of them games where both teams, both posts, bar saves galore, and it being chance after chance after chance, and no bugger can put it back at net. Don't know why, but that's what I've put my tenner on this week. As far as the game, as the lineups go, I couldn't tell you. It's a mystery every week for us.
Same.
Yeah. There was a great stat in the paper the other day where I think it's Neil Critchley has only named an unchanged side 4 times in his entire Blackpool career. Fair play to Matt Scrafton and the Gazette team for going back through every lineup to establish that stat as well.
That's dedication.
Truly the round of your local football journalist. We love him dearly. Go on then, Sean. Speaking of accredited journalists, let's take your match prediction.
Do you know what? I'm fairly confident. I don't like to get arrogant about a season too early, but I'm kind of just like we're riding a wave at the moment. I don't even particularly think we played that well at the weekend, which I'm sure we'll come on to later on. But I think we can win 2-1. I think I'm going for a 2-1 win. I think Yates will bag both of them as well, and I think that we'll probably go back to that 4-2-3-1, and we'll try and play, I think, more fluid on the counter attack. We'll soak up the pressure. I think we're good at soaking up the pressure at the moment, so I'll go for a 2-1 win.
Confident, I like it.
Me?
Go on then.
Okay.
Are you similarly confident, Tom?
For the first time, I think this season, I am not just because of the weekend. Because as Sean said, I think we weren't really in second. Well, we were in second, third gear. Could have potentially been punished, obviously, on the counter a couple of times for a mistake, but we could have been a lot better and scored a lot more goals. But we didn't need to be. It depends what Sheffield United sort of turn up. If I was hazarding a guess now, I was going to go 2-1 as well. I think Bowler's going to finally get a goal after a few games of a drought, and Jerry is inevitable. Is probably going to have some influence in the game. So I think we'll go 1-0 up. They'll equalise, and then we'll get a winner.
Fair enough. Tim in the comments is predicting a 3-0 defeat. A big fat boo to you, Tim. A big fat boo indeed. I'm more optimistic. I'm thinking probably there'll be goals. I'm going to say maybe a 1-1 draw, 2-2 draw. I think Sheffield, from what I've seen, you seem to win a lot of set pieces. Blackpool's defending from set pieces this season so far has not been great. So I predict you're probably going to score from one of those. But
to be fair, it evens out because our attacking from set pieces haven't been great either. So it evens itself out.
Here we are.
I think we've crossed about 2 corners this season, so I wouldn't worry, mate.
Well, even if we score, we always concede. So if we go 1-0 up, don't be too disheartened.
Fair enough. And then I think, but equally, like you play a very possession-based style, lots of men on the wings. I think if Keshi Anderson or Josh Bowler or Owen Dale for us are able to pick up the ball in space, there's real opportunities for a counter attack, and that's what I'm pinning my hopes to. Is we'll concede from set pieces, but score on the counter. Oh, bold prediction from Twitch Cuck's left foot, like we did there. Matt, who thinks Richard Keogh is going to score from set pieces.
I think I hear that every single game.
I had him on. I've had him on my bet the past 3 weeks. to score. He's just having none of it.
It's like when all the crowd, he comes up for a corner and all the crowd shouts, Keogh, Keogh, despite him not having scored one yet.
Sounds about right.
Fair enough. Right. It is now time for our wonderful, new, revamped They Played for Both format. Instead of nestling in the warm bosom of nostalgia, as we usually do, we've decided to add a bit of competition. I'll be asking Sean, Tom, and Johnny to name me players who have played for both Sheffield United and Blackpool. Anyone who gives an incorrect answer is eliminated until we get eventually to a last man standing. Audience, needn't to worry. You can still participate. You can give us all the really obvious names these guys have missed in the comments to mock them afterwards. So to kick us off, I'll maybe begin with you, Johnny, seeing as you're our guest. Can you name me a player that has played for both Blackpool and Sheffield United?
Sir Chris of Basham.
Excellent. And I assume by your honorifics, you rate Sir Chris Basham quite highly from that.
That man should have a statue outside. If nothing more, just for the goal against Leeds.
Quality finish that.
Fair enough. All right, so you're safely through to the next round. I'll go to Tom now. I'll leave our accredited journalist last.
John Fleck.
Oh, let's have
Very
a see.
nice.
Very nice. All right then, Sean, and then it is up to you.
Mark Howard,
Superb.
goalkeeping
That is
extraordinaire.
That is a great shout. Staying true to your accredited journalist style, coming
Thank
up
you
with a
very much.
rather niche answer.
That's all you're getting.
All right, and Johnny, back to you.
I'm going to play my trump card now. Daniel Bogdanovich.
That is correct.
That's a
What a
brilliant
shout. What did you make of Bogdanovich when he played for Sheffield?
Moving on.
All right, so not the most effective one.
He had a good song though for us. He had a
I'm
good
going
song.
to be fair to Sean here. There's a gentleman called Jack Dodds who played for Blackpool and Sheffield United in the early 1940s. He was a very
Yes.
pivotal character for Sheffield United's past.
Straight.
So.
There you are.
Fair enough. That was as far back as I went, so I'm glad you didn't go any further back. Otherwise, I've been caught short. All right, then, Sean. One of you needs to get this wrong now, otherwise we're going to be here forever. But go on, Sean.
Ben Hennigan.
Oh, another great shout. Recent, more recent than Jack Dodds, but that's a very, very low bar to set. Yeah. And then we'll have one final round before I declare you all the winners in what was probably not a very successful outing quiz format.
You were just hoping we would be absolutely slaughtered. That's why you even
Yeah, I
started
was.
this whole thing.
Go on then, Johnny.
Harrison McGee.
Oh, good shout.
Correct. Excellent shout.
We haven't actually said Lundstrom yet, have we?
Well, you have now.
Yeah, you have now. I'll take that as yours. Others in the comments have said it as well.
Us as well, by the way. That comment's correct.
Not in the
I'm
Premier
ready.
League, you weren't.
And I'm pretty sure
yeah.
he's at Rangers as well now. So
He had a good 13 games. That's about it. In 2 years.
Fair enough. Right. And then, Sean, I'll give you, see if you can make it a full sweep.
Matt Phillips.
Right shout.
Correct.
Matty.
Matty Phillips.
I'm disappointed you didn't shout Bob Harris really loud.
I had. Oh yeah.
Bob Harris!
So,
I
Yeah,
did
go
call
on.
Marcel Seep in the locker, by the way. Just
Oh.
so I'd let you all know.
Seep or Sep?
Whatever he wants. Whatever he wants to be called is whatever it
Didn't
will
he
be.
score against Sheffield United in that 3-0?
Yes. Yes, he did.
all right, moving swiftly on. There is one very, very obvious answer that I'm surprised.
I'm
surprised
sure I've
hasn't
just
come up.
thought of something then.
Gary Medine.
CJ Hamilton.
You are correct, Johnny. Gary Medine.
CJ Hamilton as
Gary
well.
Goals.
He never actually played, but
So they didn't play for both then.
he attended games in a Sheffield United tracksuit for both.
Trackies for both, yeah.
Is that the bonus round? Trackies for both.
I'm sure we'll get more out of that.
The
to be honest.
tiebreak can be who can name the best bench players for both sides.
Oh, I've got a dossier on that. That's a good game.
Oh. All right, so 9 for 9. The quiz format has been defeated by the superior knowledge of our contestants for this round.
Thank you, Jack Dodds.
Welcome feedback in the comments on Twitter. You can send your abuse by carrier pigeon if you'd really like it as well. Let us know what you think of that. We're now going into head to head. Because this is my first time hosting, I'm not sure I have a nice, pretty graphic to show you. But I can give you the pure numbers. Blackpool have won 24 of our head-to-head matches. We've drawn 17. And then, Johnny, would you like to hazard a guess of how many fixtures Sheffield United has won?
26.
Very close, 32.
Oh, not
Doing
bad.
better than you think.
That's my inner pessimist coming out to shoot me in the foot there.
I could tell you were a pessimist in the way you began, you know.
I'm a Sheffield United fan. I'm not even bouncing off the walls, am I?
They've trained you well. It's a lifetime of conditioning right there. Oh, so do you particularly remember any previous Blackpool Sheffield matches?
Blackpool Sheffield United matches. I think the last home game where we won 2-0 in League One was the last one that sticks in my memory. Only for the fact that I was that drunk and we looked that good that it was the first time we played Blackpool and I actually thought, hey, we could win here. Because every time we seem to play Blackpool, you seem to be doing better than us. You always seem... I don't think I've ever seen us win at your place when I've actually been to Bloomfield Road either. So it's kind of one of your bogey grounds, one of my bogey grounds as well.
Yeah, the last time we lost at home to you guys was August 2008, according to the internet. How about you, Sean? Tom, any games that stick out in your memory? I know, Tom, you mentioned the 3-0.
Yeah, the 3-0 was for what birthday it was now, but yeah, it was went down on my birthday on Tuesday night. Yeah, very decent game. I think we scored 3 late on. If come to memory, I think Adam and Siep got one. But yeah, that was very decent. That was obviously a very good era for us. But and I remember Klaus Jorgensen. I think Blackpool tweeted it today, but we got man sent off quite early on, and Klaus Jorgensen nicked a point with that deflected free kick in the later stages as well. DJ Campbell getting a couple of late equalisers as well. But yeah, it's always been very entertaining games versus Sheffield United. So long may that continue Saturday. Sorry.
One thing you did say there is on Tuesday night. Can you check your stats? When was the last time we got to play you at your ground on a Saturday? Because I don't remember. We always get you on a Tuesday at your place.
Just check your stats, Connor.
Yeah, I don't actually have the date with me. No, I'll have to go back and look that one up. I'll send it to you in a tweet afterwards, Johnny.
Yeah. Sorry, hijacking now. Sorry. mute me. I'm done.
Well, no, fair enough. Well, instead of a cold Tuesday night in Stoke, we have a cold Tuesday night in Sheffield.
Yeah.
Some other ones being brought up in the chat. We've got Tim Fielding remembering the 3-1, I think, loss when we first came back into the Championship. But even though we lost, had a great atmosphere. Josh Melling rightly points out we did lose 3-0 in the promotion season. We won't. All turned out nicely in the end, though. And then the most recent result, which I think nobody's mentioned because it was a 0-0 draw, was January 2016 when we were both back in League One.
I have absolutely zero recollection of that happening.
Zero.
I forgot we played you that season.
Played us twice that season.
I know, I remember the win.
Right. So, Johnny, thank you very, very much for joining us for this half an hour of, Blackpool Sheffield United chat. It's been great fun from my Partridge-esque introductions to indeed establishing that football is not played on paper. Thank you very much for your time.
No problem. Thank you for having me on, and thank you for coming on my show on Saturday morning that's pre-recorded. And I'd say good luck for Saturday, but I won't mean it. Good luck for after you've played us.
Cheers, Johnny.
Cheers.
Best of luck for the rest of the season, if only because it means I get one over on Sean.
Nice one. Thank you, lads.
See you later.
Cheers. See you later.
Whoa.
Ooh. There we go. That's our faces are less big and scary there now.
For sure.
All right. So the reason our wonderful guest presenter Johnny has dropped out is we're now going to move back onto the very Blackpool specific part of the show, which is team selection, which there is not a banner for, sadly. But instead, we have the wonderful Tom Main sharing his screen and going to decide the lineups for us.
That's me.
I was just going to say that, Tom, personally, I was just going to say that Mitch's comment about the 2016 game. I completely forgot that we had Jack Redshaw. That's just a name that is completely gone.
Do you know what? I was so excited when we signed him because I thought he was a decent player. He had a weird career because he's shown signs of being a very promising striker, but just it didn't turn out well for him.
Mark
Ended up at
Yates as
Salford,
well.
didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I'm not sure where he is now. He's kind of just dropped off the radar a bit, hasn't he?
Mark Yates, yeah, Jesus.
Yeah. Jack Redshaw, where is he now? If anyone's seen him, let us know.
He's a very small man, to be fair.
Oh, yeah. That's why.
Pocket
I remember
rocket.
him.
Here he
Well,
goes, about knee high.
I am giving him grief here, and I am the smallest. He's at Chester on loan. Jesus.
I thought he was quite good.
Debut
He was just
goal,
like,
though. Yeah.
he was very technical. He just get muscled off the ball constantly.
But just
He's a
put
good
your
player
arm
at
out and
Morecambe,
push
isn't
him
he?
over.
I just thought we'd sound like the League One version of like Lorenzo Insigne or something when he turned up, but no, unfortunately not.
Jesus. Yeah, I was about to say, someone's put in the comments, Max put in Yates, was he prolific at Colchester? I think Yates was the one that scored those two like 30-yard free kicks against us in that 2-2
Was
draw
this-
and the 2-1
Yeah.
defeat.
Was this Neil McDonald times
Nah, that was
or Gary Bowyer
way before
times?
that. Yeah, it was before that. I think they either beat us or we drew 2-2, but he scored two literally 30-yard free kicks. Just smashed them both. Well, just killed them both in.
And the XG gods did not smite him. Unexpected. Oh.
What are we doing? So we going straight to
We'll have a quick recap of pressing because we've got time, haven't we? Just not too long.
why not?
Go on.
Well,
As I said, recap.
I feel like I said before, didn't I? I didn't think we played particularly well. That's kind of a bit harsh. I mean, we obviously played very well. We did our job, what was expected of us on the pitch. I just think perhaps we didn't need to play well, and we didn't even get out. Like Tom said before, we didn't even get out of first gear. We went into the game clearly thinking it was going to be a lot more physical than it was. I think we overestimated the physicality of Emil Rees in particular. To me, I didn't see him as that much of a physical threat. I didn't think he was going to be that overbearing striker. I think he's quite a good technical player, and I thought that we'd be able to defend him generally anyway. So, and again, obviously, we thought in the middle of the pitch, perhaps, and up top in particular at centre half, they've got quite physical centre halves again. I just think generally it's just one of those, isn't it? They were so poor. The eyes are finally they are open once more after the Armfield. But yes, they are back open. I can assure you. Very heavy night, John. Very heavy night. I had to go on Tangerine TV to remember that something had happened and that we had played a football pitch. Played on a football pitch, but there you go. But yeah, I just think, I don't know what your thoughts are, but I think that if we'd have gone out and played, because obviously a lot of people were saying, Critchley masterclass, blah, blah, blah. But I think generally, if we'd have played the system that we played at Reading, we'd have probably knocked 3 or 4 past them.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we didn't play with the same intensity as we did in the second half at Reading, but we didn't need to. And like you said, it was just one of those games where we just handled it very well from the back and we were comfortable in possession. Probably could have been more ruthless in attack, but I don't know. When they counter-attack at 1-0, you're thinking this is going to be a game on here because they've got a score. It's 4 versus 1, and as soon as the second goes in, you just look to the sky and think we're finally beating them at Bloomfield Road, and it was a good day. But it's certainly not our best game. But it's just important that we won that game, isn't it? It's a very decent 3 points to gain and bragging rights, of course. But ultimately, it just keeps our run going and puts us in good stead for the next game. Obviously, it's a massive derby, but it was one we had to win, in my opinion. And I didn't say this before the game. I didn't tweet it, but I was quite confident all morning that Critchley would get it right. And I was a bit like you, Sean. I was quite arrogant over the fact that if we turn up at Bloomfield Road with the intensity, how we play, etc., there's absolutely no way at the moment they're going to score 1 or 2 past us, or 3 or 4, whatever. That there wasn't going to be loads of goals in it, and we were spot on. Really, we've got so many players out, and we were very, very comfortable. And long may it continue because this side's got a good future ahead of them, especially with the players that we've got out at the moment.
I think generally, like you say as well, I think any system we would have played, we would have ended up picking up the 3 points. I just think that Preston was so passive, ran out of ideas, completely overrunning midfield in particular. They just got sort of Alan Brown running around a bit like a hatchet man, just trying to do a job in a derby. It was very sort of tin pot, really, to be honest, in terms of tactical awareness of a game. And I just thought that they were a League One team in waiting. In that, if they play like that every time, then and they keep hold of Frankie McAvoy, they're a League One team in waiting. It felt like we were playing in League One again to me. Yeah, it was just one of the run-of-the-mill home games we had when we were going up.
I think some of these games as well, and it's just absolute credit to Critchley and the side, the way that we're working. But we're now a side. We go into that game thinking there's no way Frankie McAvoy is outsmarting Critchley. There's no way that team's going to outrun us. There's no way, tactically they're going to be better than us. It's just how we implement that plan. But I think each game we've got a clear identity now, and we've come into the Championship. And yeah, granted, I'm not saying we're going to go up or anything, but I feel quite comfortable each game now. We're going to give it a go, and we're not going to be out of our depth playing these teams. And if anything, they don't know much about us because we don't know what kind of team Critchley's going to play. So, absolutely every single credit to Critchley. I think Medine said something similar. I think he said Critchley would be better stead in the Championship because we've got more time to play the game he wants as well. So, I'm really looking forward to Saturday and the future.
Yeah, I'm going to go through a few comments here because there have been absolute corkers.
Can I just point out? Sorry, first, can I just do a little Medine monologue of? I thought he was really good on Saturday. I thought he was good technically. Again, like Mitch likes to hit home, and I agree with him. He's a good technical player. He's not just that lumbersome target man that you want up top to win balls. His movement for the Jerry Yates assist as well. He was the one. He knew they've got that screen recording on. They've got that combination play that just they know where each other are at all times, and I think it's just really nice to have different players to rely on. And again, Medine's corner play as well, corner flag play, that just was part and parcel of the occasion. I think it's like that's what you actually pay your money for, isn't it? Yeah, that's what you pay your money for, really. So.
But what did you make of the Medine's ex-shithousery? I assume XS stands for ex-shithousery.
Yes, it does. It was superb. That's the thing with him. It's as much as obviously I feel like I talk quite almost methodically and almost like just this really boring way of football, but he's such a good personality. You can see the effect he has on the team, and for him to be really, I mean, he mentioned about his pay cut that he took to stay with Neil Critchley because he knew it was the right thing for his career. He mentioned how he nearly retired at one point. He was mentioning the retire word, and to come back again and come out with these consistent performances because he's played well every time that he's played is really, really good to see. And it's just nice to have, again, another big character because I think we've got more, personally, I think in terms of and I don't know if you've seen Holloway's comments recently and stuff, but I think we're building something more special than that team personally.
Yeah, I said to a friend the other day, they said, it reeks of the 2010 era again. I said, do you know what? As much as that team is obviously going to go down in history, this team just feels that little bit more special. I don't know if because I'm a little bit older and I don't know what it is, but I just enjoy this team so much. It's just quality. Just going back to what Matt said about Medine. The ability to think about chipping that pass to Yates initially and not just like drilling it across the floor, etc. He brings a lot more than what people think to the game. And he's like he said after the Preston game, didn't he, Sean? He said, I'm nowhere near match fit yet. You can probably see that. So if there's more to come, not only will Matt be excited, but I think he's going to bring a lot more to this team.
So hopefully Neil Critchley won't be slagging off this team in 10 years' time as Ian Holloway is wont to do.
I don't get why he keeps wheeling it out in the press. I genuinely, and I don't know if you've seen the Nigel Martin bit of that interview as well, where he said some story about Nigel Martin. So he said that his tea lady, I think he was at Plymouth at the time, had seen Nigel Martin like stacking shells in Tesco and knew that he played for the local side and said that he should get a trial. So the tea lady recommended him for a trial. Nigel Martin comments underneath the podcast saying, "I've never met this tea lady. I never worked in Tesco." So it's just like he kind of goes on the circuit now and just spills as much shite as he possibly can. He's a chancer. He's a chancer at Grimsby. He's a chancer in the press. He's just a chancer to me. He's just one of those characters in football.
Nothing short of embarrassing on Quest as well, because like when we beat Blackburn or Barnsley, whatever it was, we were brilliant. We were excellent. It was good to see we're up the table and stuff. And then 2 weeks later, he's coming up with stuff like this. He's just bitter in his taste with the Blackpool fans, isn't he? After what he achieved, he should just, Holloway trying to be current and failing misery. It's exactly that. He should just be humble and look at his achievements, what he's done over the years, and just crack on. But he just seems to want to be the centre of attention all the time.
All right. So Tim, bang on with his comment there. I want to highlight one other comment in the chat simply because it's an excellent stat. Is that according to Stephen, Every game against Sheffield since the 23rd of August 2008 has been on a Tuesday, and Stephen thinks we should now begin calling them Sheffield Tuesday.
Very good.
Which we will now do for the remainder of this podcast. And then one final comment from Josh, which I think is a really interesting one. He points out how excellent Wintle was on Saturday. Obviously, he's on loan from Cardiff. They've just had a manager change, or we'll get a new manager now that they've sacked Mick McCarthy. Sean, Tom, well, how do you rate our chances of keeping him?
I think it depends obviously on the manager that comes in. I think if Cardiff, if their previous appointments are anything to go by now, they're going for that rigid sort of 4-4-2 physical game. Is that really Wintle's game? Is Wintle going to fit into that style of play? I think Wintle has a lot more to offer than that, and I think that he works better in a fluid system. So as much as Cardiff may well want him back, if we go in, even with a permanent offer in January, and Wintle makes it clear to Cardiff that he sees himself better off under Neil Critchley. He's had 6 months under Neil Critchley, probably one of, if not the best coach in the league. If they bring in another generic, direct 4-4-2 manager or just direct football manager, like a Mick McCarthy, like a Neil Harris, then there's no question for me that he's going to want to stay with us. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. I think it'll be interesting to see how much we are willing to put out there for a player like Wintle as well. I think this January is really interesting to see just how much we're willing to push the boat out to really make something of this. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see, but I'm quite confident, to be honest.
Yeah, Sean's spot on. And what I was going to say earlier when we were like to-ing and fro-ing with Johnny was thinking about Cardiff the other day. They've obviously lost Mick McCarthy, and whoever they're going to bring in, they're going to ask that team, which was what he was saying about Sheffield, to do something that they aren't going to be able to do. Like you like see Kiefer Moores, etc. They're not going to be that pressing side to play technical football. He's signed the team to play that way, long ball, set pieces, etc. So that they're going to need a severe overhaul to then bring in a player like Wintle to do that sort of work in midfield and play the way they want to play. So I think it's clear that Wintle loves the club. His celebrations and his after-match comments are, very much in favour of the team and the fans. So I think, like as Sean said, if he makes it clear that he wants to come and we're happy to pay the money that they want, then we could, in my opinion, have one of the best centre midfielders we've had for a very long time on our hands, because he's been nothing short of exceptional since signing for us.
I was just looking at the next Cardiff manager odds there, and the favourite at the moment is Jody Morris, which is the Chelsea assistant or one of the Chelsea backroom staff. See that Chris Wilder's drifted a bit. Michael Flynn's up there. Steve Morrison's up there. Ryan Lowe's quite a long shot, but I don't know. They're not. I don't think any of those are better choices than Neil Critchley personally. So I know where I'd rather want to be.
Fair enough. And Matt has already decided he's going to sort the finances with us with his excellent, bargain offer of Beryl Labala, Ollie Sarkic, Nuttall and Howe for Ryan.
You leave Sarkic out of this.
Yeah, four into one, like one of those Power Rangers robots that, get bigger when you put them all together.
I was just going to say with David Coleman's comment, obviously he's a season-long loan, but Cardiff have the option to recall in January, so that's why we're kind of discussing the January option, because managerial change probably affects that and his performances for us this season.
What we've got to understand as well, he started at Fulham, where I thought he was Rolls Royce. He was exceptional. He tracked back to stop that counter-attack, didn't he, at 1-0? And he's played every single game since. Granted, he's had to, but his fitness hasn't shown, even though he didn't play that much football. So even if he's not fully, I'm sure he is fully match fit, but the way he's just settled into that team is...
Sorry, it's Robson.
Yeah, he's got a hamstring injury at the moment, but he's been very good for MK Dons as well. So, yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I would go all out to Kieran. We wouldn't want to go hunting for someone else. And there's a blessing in disguise we didn't get Brannigan, because I think Wintle's would have been a lot better than what Brannigan was.
I think it's not the end for Ethan Robson personally as well. That's why I thought it's quite an interesting shout. In terms of, obviously, with centre mid's probably the one area that we want to strengthen just due to consistency. And I mean, MK Dons was the perfect place to send him. Yeah, Liam Kitchen, a manager. Well, I think it's Liam Kitchen. I know they've got the head of recruitment that's a similar name. But he's sort of from the City group. He's plays this sort of really expansive style of football. It's perfect for our game. Neil Critchley's mentioned him a couple of times this season. So if he keeps up that run of form, obviously he said he's injured at the moment, but I don't think it's personally the end of Ethan Robson. I thought he was quite unlucky, to be honest, with his time with us in League One as well.
Fair enough. All right, I'm gonna stop the general discussion there because we've only got 15 minutes left, and I know that the trials of team selection often take much longer than you think because we're an argumentative bunch, and the people in the comments are even more argumentative. So I'll bring up Tom's screen once again. Already Mitch has put in a comment criticising the numbering and saying 2 is not a left back, but quite frankly, Matt, you're just going to have to deal with that. So what do we make of formation? I'll tell you what, Sean, what formation would you want to play against Sheffield?
4-2-3-1, same as Reading for me. I think we were more fluid and flexible up front. I thought we were a bit static at times against Preston, and I don't think you need to be like that against Sheffield United. You're probably going to be soaking up pressure, countering on the break, get as many pacey players and technical players in there as you can in that forward area for me, and we probably make the most of it. So 4-2-3-1 for me.
Tom, do you agree?
Yes, absolutely. I think that's I do. I don't mind playing the 2 up front, but I think going away from home against the Sheffield United side that can be quite reserved. I think why not? I might as well go for it. And 4-2-3-1, we play some incredible, intense football. So
fair enough. Well, I disagree. I think it should be 4-4-2 because that's a 4-2-3-1 is one less valuable striker spot that Gary Medine can occupy.
I know. I can't believe Mitch is calling for this, to be honest, because he knows what comes next. I'm very surprised.
Well, we've got Medine out on the wing, so don't worry about it.
That's one way of getting him match fit very quickly, right? Running up and down the flanks. Like genuinely kill him. All right, so we're going for a 4-2-3-1. Who are you having in goal, Tom? Are we having Stuart Moore or Grimshaw?
I was very frustrated Grimshaw started against Forest since he's had games, obviously, against Preston and Reading, and I think it'd be harsh on him to drop him, so therefore I would just keep him in goal because he's the one that's settled into the side since Maxwell's left, and we're still doing well. So it would be, I don't think it would be very good to drop him, but I think Moore's a better keeper initially, but I wouldn't disrupt that at the moment. So I'd have Grimshaw in goal.
Fair enough. I'm going to be relying on you to type these in as we go, Tom.
No problem.
I was just going to say, I actually agree with Tim that I think we might go 4-4-2, but obviously we would prefer 4-2-3-1, but I do have this suspicion that we probably will go 4-4-2, but it's I personally would have Medine come on after 60 minutes and sort of be that target man when we are sort of blowing out of steam a little bit and need to have an out ball, but yeah.
I'm definitely agreeing on Grimshaw. I've just said it. And
yeah, Grimshaw, definitely Grimshaw. I like him. I thought he, obviously that Reading save, he's kind of done what he's needed to when he needs to, and I just think it'd be silly to keep switching them around. So clearly Grimshaw's the choice for Critch.
Connor doesn't agree, but we'll move on.
No, I do agree on Grimshaw actually. So we will move on there.
I've got your lineup in the script, mate.
All right, fair enough. I probably just forgot to change it from last time.
Yeah, honestly.
I'm being attacked for secret.
Yeah, what was that? When I saw
that's
that,
material non-public information there, Tom.
I didn't know Chris was in it. Just
so Tim thinks that Sterling's going to come back in, but he thinks Hubby should be left back. I'm going to say, right, we're going to plant my flag in the sand and say I disagree. I would put Luke Garber at left back. Because I love Luke Garber. I think it's great to have people who can take free kicks. I think he combines really, really well with Keshi, who I assume we can't drop.
Yeah, this is the thing, because this is where it's going to come later on, and our decision is going to make a little more sense with context. But I would stick with Husband because I think he links up better with Owen Dale. I think that in the interchange in the midfield, in particular against Reading, I was impressed with how far he got forward, and he was quite narrow as well when he came inside and had an extra body in at central midfield when you needed him. And I think he was good in the press as well, keeping that consistent retaining of possession, quick turnover, retain the ball to take it back. And he was quite integral in that against Reading in particular. And And that's unfair. I don't know how Garbett will link up with Dale because we haven't seen him. But I think that having that slightly more defensively stable left back when you've got Dale, well, if we have Dale, but I would have Dale there pushing higher, is the better option for me.
Fair enough.
Yep, I agree.
And bearing in mind, I guess, what Johnny said about crossing, I feel slightly more confident with Husband than Garbutt in terms of dealing with crosses. Okay.
Probably sounds really horrible, so I'm going to change that.
Makes you sound like one of those, Instagram mummies.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Live, laugh, love.
Move on.
All right. So left-sided centre back.
This does not need discussion. Neither of these positions need discussion. If anyone even dares to discuss Keown or Ekpiteta, we need to kick them off the show immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's very nailed on. I don't think there'll be any dissent from the comments either. Whereas there's an absolute clamour for James Husband.
Casey. He's just got to get him in anywhere possible in this lineup.
All right. And then right back, it seems like Sterling has been the preferred option, but Gabriel's got back into the squad via, kind of Sterling being out. Who would you take into this match, Tom?
Do you know what? Me and Sean sat on this every week and had the Turton and Gabriel argument, and I absolutely love Gabriel. And I thought he was exceptional in the second half at Forest and second half specifically at Reading as well. The reason that I wouldn't play Gabriel, his aerial ability to read a ball is absolutely shocking. And I think Sterling brings a lot more solidity that way. I'm personally not too bothered, but if they play long balls like Forest did, we're going to concede goals, in my personal opinion. So as much as I hate to say it, because I do love Gabriel, I'd probably try Sterling to see how he fares and if he's fit. But I think Gabriel will start, but I would probably personally go Sterling just because of that aerial ball.
Yeah, right. With Sterling, I think he's the better player at that position than Gabriel. I think that obviously he's got a much higher ceiling than Gabriel, but I'm struggling to make. I know that I want to make changes later down the line. I'm struggling to make a change in the back line because,
yeah,
I mean, we had no questions asked of us against Preston, and we were absolutely fine. And I just think we just kind of got to stick with Gabriel again. Gabriel worked really well in this formation as well against Reading. Yeah. Really, really, and him getting so far down the right touchline enabled Bowler to have the space to open up in that second half. So I would go Gabriel personally.
I'm going to disagree with you, Sean, and say I want Sterling back in there because I completely see what Tom is saying around him being better in the air. I think he'll deal better with the crosses, similar to Husband on the
2 weeks in a row been outnumbered on Gabriel. This is what's happened, Tom?
You know what,
because Sterling is cash money.
Thrown him
he is
aside.
A cash money player.
I'll tell you this for free. I think Sterling. I think Gabriel's in tomorrow, Saturday. And I'm personally not bothered if he starts because I genuinely love him and he does bring that attack and threat that we saw against Reading.
Okay.
That aerial ball does piss me off though.
Yeah. Like I say, I mean, inevitably, I think over the next few months, I'll be like, yeah, Sterling has to play. It's inevitable that Sterling's going to get him back in the right back position and not be able to move from it because he's that good. But I just think Gabriel should keep the start while he's consistently playing well.
All right.
Moving
on to central defensive midfield. I'm assuming Ryan Wintle has to be a shoo-in, guys.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, we've only got 3 mid-centre midfielders and 2 of them are dodgy at the moment in terms of their fitness. So it's Wintle with another. So
all right,
Wintle and Dougal, I take it.
Yeah. And then any advances on Kenny Dougal for the second?
No, that's nailed on again. It's like the centre halves. It's so nice for us to just have that nailed on central.
I'm not taking notes on
it?
Dougal. He is a machine.
Yeah,
he's getting back to his best and has been for a few weeks now. But yeah, Steve's rightly put if he's fit, as I've said. But we'll go if he is fit because Stuart probably
even if he's not. Even if he's not, it's fine. He can play. It's fine.
Like with that bleach blonde hair, I can confirm Kenny Dougal
needs to die again.
Cameron Antwi, get him in.
Bowler.
No. Kenny Dougal, when he's playing well and just gliding across the pitch, it's like something out of Baywatch. You know, I can hear the music playing in my head.
He needs to re-dye it. It's got very dark hair now, so him and Windsor look the same.
Now this gets interesting.
I'm with you, Sean, on the left side.
Who are you playing on the left, Sean?
Owen Dale, because he put on the best debut performance that I've seen in a Blackpool shirt in my life. It would be so unbelievably harsh if you don't then start him. I understand why you're not starting against Preston because it's a different occasion. You know, 2 games in a week, just come back. We've managed his fitness now. Get him in from the start. Let him do his thing. He's electric on the ball. And I just think that if we want to be right on it on the counter-attack, Owen Dale will be integral to taking the chances when we need them.
He will bring, and as much as I love Mitchell, etc., he will bring something that we haven't got at the moment, which is that will attack, but also, as we saw at Reading with the cross, which, by the way, is the cross for Yates' header is absolutely exceptional, and he wasn't afraid to shoot 2 or 3 times, as we saw with his first goal. So he's going to bring cutting in and having a shot as well as attacking, but he also tracks back really well. He's fearless, and he's going to just bring that. He's just a better player in that position than, in my opinion, immediately, as Sean said, and we can bring on the pace when we need to. So I think he should start also.
Okay, so I agree he should start, but I would put him out on the right. But I'm sure we can come back to that later. It seems like I'm being outvoted 2-1 anyway. Does this mean
Who would you have gone with? Sorry, you'd have gone with Keshi there.
Yeah, I'd have gone with Keshi on the left.
Okay.
And if we're playing a 4-2-3-1, I would have gone Keshi on the left, Carey in the middle, and then Dale on the right. Because I think that's.
But then you drop in Josh Bowler and everyone will absolutely massacre you. I'm not allowed to do that anymore. It's a criminal offence.
No, I'm dropping Josh Bowler. The last time we dropped Josh Bowler, he scored against Fulham. Our man management is incredible, Sean, and you need to back it. I think Dale gives us better decision making in the final third. I think he's got similar pace.
That's exactly
and I think
what we haven't got.
when we're looking to score on the counter, you know, because Sheffield are going to have most of the ball. I think Dale is better at scoring on the counter than Bowler will. You know, if you're trying to break down a low block with one-on-one dribbling, play Bowler. If you're going for the counter-attack, I think you go Dale.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. He's definitely, for me, he's a far... For me, obviously, we've only seen half an hour of him. I think it's too early for us to say that because I literally made the point with Josh Bowler that wingers are so inconsistent. You can't really judge him straight away. But for me, Josh Bowler just doesn't have the finishing touch that Owen Dale has in front of goal. And I mean, against Reading, Christ, it would have been such a long night if we hadn't have had Dale come on and provide that little extra spark. But yeah,
it's
I
difficult,
think
isn't it? Because Carey's debut was equally as impressive for me, and the way he worked with Yates, Yates's runs and breaking up play, I'd probably say Carey's up there, one of the best debuts I've seen as well. And I kind of want to start him, but that does mean you drop someone like Keshi or Bowler or someone like that.
So for me, should we pick the 2 positions at the same time so that we can kind of... So I'm going Dale on the left and Keshi in the 10 and dropping and not having Carey in.
What do you say, Tom?
I'm exactly with Tim. I'm exactly the same as Tim. I would want Carey there, but Keshi for me is someone you can't drop. He brings too much to the side, so his time will come. And if he needs to be impactful off the bench, then he's going to be. So I'd be exactly the same as Sean. I would go Dale, Keshi, and Bowler. As much as Bowler needs to work on his end product.
I think as well with the Carey stuff. Obviously, Mitch was saying as well. Carey probably works better in the 10 or what have you. I think that. I don't necessarily think that's true. I don't think Keshi's had a good enough run at the 10, but I think that against Reading, you could afford to go so gung-ho because Reading was so passive in midfield. I don't think Sheffield United will be as passive, and I think you need a controlling presence in midfield. And I feel like Keshi plays well deeper, and if we need to have spells where we're playing deeper and we're controlling in a flat midfield free, I think Keshi's good at just distributing the ball, calming things down. And then Carey can come on if we're still in a game state where we need a goal or we need to do something different. Carey can come on and provide that sort of energy, a bit more of a pace to him. There's a bit more pace to Carey than there is to Keshi. But I think we need that control in there, and that's why I put Keshi in the 10.
He's a very important part of our team. So
I completely agree about having Keshi in there over Carey as well. So let's fill him in. And I think one thing David made a comment that these are great problems to have, and I completely see Kerry being a impact sub, or as Eddie Jones calls them in rugby, finishers, which I think we should adopt, because I can just imagine like Neil Critchley bringing somebody on and yelling, "Finish him!" Mortal Kombat style, to really set the
very uncharacteristic of you there, Connor.
I've got range, Tom. I've got range.
It's a good debut, mate. It's up there with Owen Dales. I'll put in Yates because you can't argue with that.
Is anybody going to suggest we have Medine?
This is where I'm mute Matt from the chat.
I mean, to me, I wonder now. Obviously, we've picked what we want. What do we think Critchfield will go for? Like I said before, I think he'll go 4-4-2. I think that he'll play Medine again, and I think that then we'll drop into like a 4-5-1 perhaps, or a 4-2-3-1 later in the game, and he'll put sort of. I think he will take it as control the game, try and get out of our own half for the first 45 minutes, and then kind of we've got half an hour to go. We've got a lot of electric pacey options on against tired legs, which is a fine strategy to have. I just think, like we said, with the pressing game, just go for it. Just go for it early doors, because you can blow teams away going for it early doors.
Do you not think that could work the other way though? So they'd like to be quite passive on the ball, and if we countered quite well in a 4-2-3-1 initially, and we got maybe an early goal, maybe dare I say it, an early 2-goal lead or whatever, then drop back in a 4-4-2 and control the game a little bit more there. Or if we allow them to play in a 4-4-2, they get a set piece goal and they set up to, I don't know, but we'll see. This is a kind of game where I think if we're on it from the minute one, we could potentially be comfortable. But if we let them have the ball, then it would just be one of those games which you don't want to be involved in. And they get
I just think we have to trust ourselves. We just have to trust ourselves to be good enough. I think that Reading game showed that when we trust ourselves to be creative, to be fluid on the ball, to be quick in counter attacks, we are ruthless. So having that, as I say, having Dale on there is that extra clinical edge, I guess, and having so many midfield runners is what will make the difference for me. We just overrun their midfield, and their midfield's quite important to the way they play.
Yeah.
All right.
We agree with that then, boys?
Yeah, I think that's our squad. We'll take a screenshot and put it out on Twitter as usual, so the abuse can come in. I'm glad we kept Bowler, because that'll mitigate at least some of it. So I think we've just gone past the hour mark. Thank you very, very much, everyone, for joining us and for watching. Here's hoping it is an excellent result on Saturday. Thank you to Tom, and thank you for Sean for their expert opinion, as always. We'll leave it here. Up the pool.
Up the pool.
Up the pool.